Podcasting meets bodybuilding. Is that what we're going to call this one today?
Yep. Just a colliding of two worlds.
Is that what we're calling? We're colliding, eh? I like that. I like that.
Sure.
Miss M, what's going on? How you been?
Been doing really good, thanks. It's been
Yeah.
it's getting a little cold out here for me, so not sure how I feel about it, but we're doing it.
But you're in Canada. I'm in Canada. This is what happens this
Yeah.
time of the year. It gets cold,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah. Just I'm never ready for it.
Oh boy, listen to you. Well, let's get into this. I feel like there's a lot to talk about in your journey, your development, your career, and things like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
First and foremost, IFBB Pro. You know what I mean. So congratulations to
Mhm.
you on that there too.
Thank
But
you.
let's talk about the journey, right? I feel like I've been in health and fitness. I was a personal trainer, fitness coach, things like that. Talk about your
Yeah.
journey in bodybuilding and what does it mean to you?
Um Well, honestly, when getting started, I never really knew I wanted to get into bodybuilding. Like I played sports growing up. Like I played hockey, I played soccer. In high school, I had like my first of 7 knee surgeries. So, yeah, so I kind of just recovered from that, kept playing sports, and then once I kind of had another surgery, and then 4 more, so 7 total. My surgeon told me I was not really looking at playing sports again. So yeah, I just started going to the gym, working on my physio, training my upper body too. And then I met a good friend of mine, Steph, and she was like, I have a local show in London every year. You should try it out. So that was the start of it all.
You're not just gonna skate past that name, Stephanie. I know who Stephanie is. You want to give her full credentials? Come on, I know you. That's your bestie, no?
Yep, she's my bestie. So yeah, Stephanie Worsfold, IFBB Pro. She was the first Canadian female fitness pro in Canada. So obviously, so yeah, we're super tight. And yeah, she's been doing her show now. I help run her show with her every year. So I think this will be the 12th year in a row that she's had it. So yeah, it's gonna be
I
a good
love
one.
that.
But
I love that. I love that. And
hmm
it speaks
yeah.
to the power of collaboration, community, things like that. You speak
hmm
about the knee surgeries and hockey. That's overcoming adversity, which is something I talk about a lot on the show. When you were in those times of going through injury and healing, where was the mindset at that present time?
I think I always was just determined to not let this like stop me, not let this be a factor. I think every day going into the gym, like you're in pain. You don't really want to be there, but you know that this is what you have to do to get better. So I was just always kind of had that mindset to focus on what I can do, not what I can't do. And yeah, and do what I needed to do to get my butt back into doing something, right?
I love that. No, I love that, and it speaks to
Yeah,
the character also too. You know what I mean? Because you're hardworking. You know what I mean? I see that just from Instagram, social media, and things like that.
thanks.
So when you talk about bodybuilding, right? What was that connection that you said, "Yo, I want to step on that show floor. I want to pump the iron. I want to do the things that it is I wanted to do."
For sure. I think for me it was a completely different like sport, I guess, because like I'm so used to competing for a number or like, like you're being judged on how basically your appearance and how you look, and it only you're putting in all this behind the scenes work every single day, and like nobody's watching except for you. And if you're not gonna do A, B, and C, you're not gonna get to where you want to be. So for me it's the daily push, like you're grinding every single day, not just in the gym, but in the kitchen, and making sure you're staying on point. And yeah, stepping on stage is kind of just like the end, but not the end goal, right?
So you speak about being in the kitchen, right, and things like that.
Yeah,
I thought you'd have your own in-home chef. Chef's kiss they call it. You know what I mean? What's
I
up with that?
know. I think that's gotta be a thing, right?
No, no, for sure, for sure. So I really want to get into some things. Could you talk about appearance and stuff like that? And I feel like that's going to be the main position in this show because there's a lot. Men, women have their reservations about health and fitness, bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
Oh, women or men going on stage can conform as a type of narcissistic behavior, right? I've heard these little things. So I'm actually happy that we're doing this conversation because I think there's a lot that you're going to be able to really iron out and
Mhm.
really give the audience a perspective for them to understand. You know what I mean? And things like that.
For sure, for sure. I think, from my perspective, I know, yeah, like, person to person, it definitely varies, and because it is an individual sport, like, it is not a team sport, of course. I mean, I always have my team, my support, my family, my friends, everyone, behind my back and pushing me to be better, but, yeah, I think some people can kinda, like, kinda and, not the prettiest side comes out. Um, but I think to me, bodybuilding is just it's almost it's an art, like in a way. Like you're changing your physique, your every little tiny detail that you do, like your training, like the way you train, the like all of that is gonna play into the effect. And I think coming from, like, my knee surgeries, like, I had to do these recoveries, like, I did it 7 times, and every single time my quad would just shrink up to this little, like, toothpick, and I had to, grow it back, and, like, that was I was always, like, determined just to have them be symmetrical. That was kinda really the start of it for me. I was like, "Okay, I can't have this, like, stick leg and then this normal size leg." Like, I'm like so that's kinda how I kinda became like, started changing my mindset and kind of thinking of it in that way.
Absolutely. Body image, right? Let's talk
Body
about it
image.
because I hear a lot of men say that,
Yeah.
oh, women that are bulky looking and they've got muscle, it's not appealing to the eye. Speak about
Mhm.
that because my perspective is that we all come in certain shapes and sizes. We choose to go either on a stage and compete as a pro level bodybuilder, or we do CrossFit competitions, or we do
Mhm.
100 burpees, or we do weight loss programs and things like that. For you, when you hear that ideology and that rhetoric, it's very dangerous. How does that make you feel
Yes.
as a person that puts the hard work into the gym?
For sure, and I think there's a few things that kinda popped in my head there. I think, one being, like, people there's always gonna be people hating no matter what you do, right? You know that. But I think, yeah, like it's not bodybuilding for sure is not a sport that's for everybody. I think, yeah, like there's a lot of you have to have a very healthy relationship with food, with your own body, and knowing what you're gonna go through mentally and physically to be able to take it to this level. Like when I hear girls that are like, "Oh, I just want to do a show," and it's like it's not just like, "Haha, do a show." Like it's like there's a lot that like you have to know that you're gonna face and you're gonna go through and, yeah, and I think, people that are like maybe make negative comments about bodybuilding or females that are more athletic or strong, like I think it's almost speaks more to them and their mentality than it does for me or us as women. Like where it's like kind of I don't know. To me, a strong body, whether you be male or female, speaks to a strong mind.
Mm, I love how you just tied it up in a bow and you repackaged it back for the audience. You know what I mean? And things like that.
Yeah,
Has there ever been a time where you've experienced criticism going on a stage in prep? And how did you deal with that?
for sure. I think, I think the for me, the best way to respond is to not respond and not give them that slice of your energy like that you have to protect yourself, protect your mentality and as if things like that kind of come up, like yeah, if it's like a face to face thing, which I have had for sure, you handle with grace, like there's no sense in getting angry or feeding into it or fighting back. I like there's just always gonna be these keyboard warriors and they're gonna be throwing all kinds of stuff, hiding behind a fake account and like yeah, that's pretty low. So, I just kind of
Jeez,
got
I feel like you
that
want to
and
go a little deeper. Hey, you can go a little deeper. This podcast is a safe space. It encourages men and women to come on this platform and share out what they want to share. You know what I mean?
for
Because
sure,
it goes to what you just said there. Like, I experience it in podcasting. And
for
it's
sure.
so funny because I was talking to my inner circle, because I have a couple inner circles. I have my inner circle that knows what goes on behind the scenes on the podcast. And
Yeah.
I said some things where it's just like, I think a lot of people see the level of confidence. When
Mhm.
you have this in your face, basically 90% of the time, it's one thing. And then
Yeah.
when you work and you always have to have front facing conversations, you're so quick at the ball to have a response. And it's not because you think you're better than people, it's because you know how to talk, you know how to communicate. So people
Yeah.
sit back and they get, how do I say this? They get uncomfortable and I think they get intimidated because they're like, okay, so
Yes.
this guy always has an answer for everything. So it's like everything you shared and you experienced, I get it also too. But you know what? I troll the trolls.
Yeah.
I troll
Yeah,
the
right?
trolls. You know what I
Like,
mean?
"Oh,
So
you wanna play this game?"
absolutely, absolutely.
Because 'Cause you're gonna lose.
No, and that's the thing. And you before we got into the conversation recording, you asked me like,
Mhm.
charity boxing, things like that. And I addressed
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff. And, I'll say this to say that is that even when that whole lead up to everything and everything was going on, I know everybody had things to say. I saw certain people's accounts that reshared stuff and they mentioned my name and they're like, oh, he doesn't know how to do this. He doesn't know how to do that. And I'm laughing because I'm
Yeah.
like, who are you to speak? Have you stepped
Yeah.
into a ring? Have you stepped into a camp? Have you went out and sparred? Right. At the same time, you can talk about me all the time. Every time you call my name, people are going to be like, so who's Rory? Oh,
Yeah.
he's got a podcast. Oh, he got this. Ba, ba,
Yeah.
ba. You're just giving me back the airtime. So even
Yep.
if you win, I still win at the end of the day. And even if I
Yeah.
lose, I still win at the end of the day. So you're technically in a lose-lose situation.
That's right.
you
They
know?
tell them to keep talking, right?
Of course,
Keep
of
talking.
course, of course. When you go into your prep, right? And we talk about support systems because I know it's important, right? You
Mhm.
have to have a right support system. I've where I work, we keep that off the map with where the brand and stuff like that. But
For
I've
sure.
ran into a lot of people that are in competition in sport, and some have a support system. Some may not have a support system. Could be
Mhm.
husband, could be wife, vice versa, boyfriend, girlfriend, vice versa. If you're in a different, same sex type of relationship, vice versa.
Mhm.
How do you find your best support system and how do you navigate with that?
Well, as I mentioned, because bodybuilding is so individual, but and much like I'm sure you experienced with boxing, because it's like you're putting yourself in through these practices. You're the one who's stepping in the ring. It's not you and all your friends and family. It's you, but you know in your head they got your back. For me, it's like I just feel so blessed, truly, and so lucky. Like my parents have always been supportive. I think when I first started out competing, they didn't totally understand it, and they were like, "What is happening?" But yeah, they completely are always 100% on my back. I have some really amazing friends, like I mentioned, Stephanie, Bailey. She's one of my best friends I went to college with, and Maggie. Those are my girls. I have of so many others I could name, but those are just a few right off the top. And my sponsors, PVL, they are amazing. They support me 100%. They're always there for anything that I need. I truly stand behind. I'm not just plugging this for the podcast. Like I truly stand behind all the products that they make and all the people behind the brand. So I'm really lucky to have them. So yeah, yeah, I'm pretty blessed.
Yeah, I see it's funny you say that because you talk about support systems and you're giving the plugs to all the men, women, things like
Yeah.
that. I heard a thing in boxing where it's like when you take a loss, when you go back to your
Mhm.
dressing room, that's who you find out who your real people are. You see what I'm saying? Doesn't
Yeah.
matter on what level you're boxing on. It could be a charity level, amateur level, pro level. I believe it's the same thing when you think about bodybuilding. Who's going to show up to the venue, to who's going
Yeah.
to be backstage, to who's going to be in the crowd.
Yeah.
Heck, you know what? Maybe you don't place. Maybe you don't
Yeah.
get that first place. Maybe you get dead last. When it's all said and done and you're at the dinner or you're hanging out with your friends, it's like, who's going to be there? Who's going to
Right.
be there? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that there's so many people that tend to switch up. But I always say is you got to fix up, you know, right? And then
Yeah.
where the fix up comes into play is where it's like you and I, we have to fix up and just look at our natural surroundings and
Yeah.
adapt and just kind of look at things and say is, well, that's not happening there. Maybe I just got to just turn that dial and switch my direction and focus here. You know what I mean?
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
What was one of the biggest challenges you faced, you think, going into your match?
Do you want me to give you the mic and then you ask me the questions?
I want to know. I just want to hear from your side because
You know what? I said it. I think I addressed it, and I addressed it in that sit down where it was me and another gentleman, and he was
yeah,
off camera on purpose. We did that. Everything's calculated over here,
yeah,
and I won't lie, and I'm not using this as an excuse. I got injured twice, calf injury. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But I never let
yeah.
that slow me down. And I know some people are
No.
gonna say, "Well, you're using that and you're clamoring to that." No, injuries happen. Heck, the late great Kobe Bryant. I have one of his
Yeah.
shirts upstairs. He had so many different injuries where he had to recover in the season. You can't
Hmm.
you can't power through it. You got to know how to do your recovery. So I had
Yeah.
to recover. And you know what? Things happen. Now, at the night of the fight, did that ever show face? No. But does it come into play?
No.
Some people could say is, oh, well, you were injured, so you weren't training at your hardest. Heck, all the high level people that I know that get injured in any sport or any competition, they bounce back. And
Yeah.
sometimes getting
Yeah.
injured and taking a loss is probably one of the best things that can ever happen to you because it's about how you bounce back from that. Last time I
Yeah.
checked and I look at my watch, it's game time. It's my time.
That's it. Yeah. You're showing up.
Exactly. What about you?
Ooh. Well, I think honestly, just like from my knee surgeries, that was kind of a huge challenge for me. I bounced back 7 times. Like I was recovering, having the surgery, recovering, having the surgery. So, yeah, that was definitely a big one for me. But yeah, and I think for more current, I think like I won my pro card in 2022. This was my first year competing as a pro, so that was a huge challenge. It's a completely different game. Like you're stepping on a stage with girls that are just on another level. So, and I came in fourth out of 23. So that was just insane. Like I was just, I didn't even expect to come top five. I just went in with zero expectation. I was like, I'm just showing up. I want my feedback. I want to know what I need to do, how I can get better, what I can push myself to. So yeah.
Love that you say that. I feel like in your profession, right, there's a lot of stress, right?
Mhm.
How do you handle stress?
Yeah, that's a good one. Stress I think plays such a huge role on, of course, your mental state, but also in the way that your body looks, like your physique. So, for me, when I try have a few different kind of ways I manage it. I like to, I always get massage work done. I find that's just a huge one. I think everyone, no, even if you don't work out, should be getting one. I like to, have my me time, have my baths, like chill out completely, light the big candles, and have the whole vibe going. And that's kind of like my way to just like unwind.
Big candles, eh? You would say not
Yeah,
the little
I
ones,
have
not the
one.
little
Yeah.
candles.
So I have one going right here.
I can't. Let me guess. It's scented too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, brother, you would do something like that.
Oh,
No, and it's good that you say that because I think we all handle stress differently.
for sure.
Right? I'm somebody that I come from my belief. I try not to put stress in my life, right?
Mhm.
You're either adding or you're subtracting with things, right?
Yeah.
Life is as stressful as it is. There's so many challenges that we have to face. It's not even on stage, off stage, in
Yeah.
ring, out of ring, in gym, out of ring, out of gym. There's just so many things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there's things that are happening in the world that can
Absolutely.
create anxiety, that can create stress, right? There's things that could happen
Totally.
with weather, you know what I mean? That can create anxiety, that can create stress. You know what I mean? So it's all about how you
Absolutely.
adapt to your surroundings and things like that.
Absolutely. I have a ton of clients that come to me that, "Oh, like, my work, I don't have time to, like, blah, blah, blah," like, the people just get wrapped up in such having, like, such busy work schedules, and then they have kids, and then they have a significant other, and they're just going nonstop, and, like, at what point do you take a step back and you go, like, this is your life, like, and carrying this amount of stress at some point, it's gonna catch up to you, like, I hate to say it, like, I'm not fear-mongering or anything, like, it's going to catch up to you, you know, if you don't deal with it or you don't do anything to help, you know, change some of those matters, like, it could not be it could be a negative thing, so I think, yeah, it's really important to kind of be aware and take the measures that you need to do that are gonna work for you, right?
Absolutely. Is there any times that you feel anxiety in the gym, outside of the gym, wanting to work out, not wanting to work out?
Ooh, yeah. You know, honestly, I was thinking about this the other day because, like, I think, I go to the gym here, I go to the commercial gym, I go to Good Life, and I was, like, putting myself into other people's shoes because sometimes, honestly, even I go in there I don't mean even I, like, I go in there and it's busy as heck, like, you're waiting for a machine, like, and you just get flustered and you're just like, you know, and so I can only imagine somebody who's just stepping foot in the gym or has, like, you know, is kind of nervous and doesn't really even know what they're doing or using machines properly. It's like so yeah, I just wanted like to like it happens to everybody, and you know, sometimes it's like, okay, today I'm just gonna walk on the treadmill, like, and that's cool. And like sometimes you're going in the gym and it's not about changing your body or, oh, I'm gonna have set a PR today or whatever. It's just you got there, you're moving your body, you're feeling good today, and that's a win, right?
Well said. Comes down to mental also
Mhm.
too, right? Mental. And I think that the
Yeah,
mental is the strongest thing that we have, right? Because if you mentally can't do something, you're not going to want to do it, right?
yeah,
So for you, when it's
yeah,
comes to mental, right? What does
mhm,
mental look like in prep and outside of prep?
for sure. I think in prep, it comes down to like, especially when you get pretty deep, you're pretty much on autopilot. Like you wake up in the morning, you're checking the boxes. But every day for me, it's you're checking the boxes. But prep is just so calculated. Like you and you miss something, you got to make sure you get it in somewhere. So like you get up, you do your cardio, you're having those meals, you're getting your workout in. You know, you're training clients, you're doing what you do, and um yeah, like that you just got to make sure you're getting your shit done, right? And I think outside of prep, it becomes a little bit like I have a lot more flexibility, which I really like. Like if um, I was like I still try to keep like a same routine, keep that in check, but yeah, you can definitely, you know, make things work. I run my business online. I'm lucky I can do that from anywhere, and I can you know, I can write programs at 11 o'clock at night if I want to, right? So,
You
you just
see,
gotta make it
you're writing programs at 11 o'clock at night.
no, but
You're not making time for sleep. What are we doing
no, I'm
here?
joking. Sleep is the number one. I take
Yeah,
it
is it
back.
though? Let me find out you're writing programs at 11 o'clock.
No. I was just saying I could, but
Hey, I'll give the people a secret. I do business planning at 11, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a
sometimes
strategic
that's
way
just
about
when the
that.
creative flows, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think a lot of people
Mhm,
don't understand that. Like when we're in our specific area, you know what I mean? We always want to make
mhm,
sure we're applying
mhm.
certain ways to level up and be 1% better. It's like one of my biggest things that I say. And I think some people hear
Yeah,
that and then they try to loosely just say it, oh, 1% better, and not know and grasp the meaning of what that is. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
in this world of just ever changing, we just have to be 1%
mhm.
better, you know?
That's right, and take control of the things that you have control over. I always always try to preach that because like you to circle back to the feeling anxious thing is if you're dialing in on all these things like, oh, I can't that you can't do anything about, you need to just relax, ride the wave, like take control of what you can, eat your food that makes you feel good, fuel your body, fuel your mind, get your sleep, write your lists or have your routine or whatever it is that you keeps you organized and tackle that. And I think when you once you do that, it just diffuses. It takes a lot of that away.
No, absolutely.
So,
Body image issues. Do you think they're created or are they always there?
mhm. I think everyone has their own like, a different set of issues and a different perception of themselves. I know that, like, obviously in prep, it's kinda one thing, like, you're really like, "Oh, like, you're never gonna be lean enough," right? You're never like, "Oh, I'm not shredded," like, and you're, like, a week out, you're, like, 2% body fat, you're like but it's a thing, like, it is I'm laughing, but it's real. So, and yeah, and I think for a lot of people, not just like it's male and men and women. And yeah, off season, like coming out of the prep, it's like you're seeing your body change, you're losing definition, you're putting on some weight, and I think it's just what I always come back to is health is number one. That was always my focus after knee surgeries. And yeah, not prep is kind of a it's not obviously it's not the healthiest, but making sure that you're keeping your health in integrity because it's about longevity. It's like I want to live a healthy, long life, and I want to feel good doing it, and I want to be there for my friends and my family. So
I love that you
that's
say that.
the
That's
key.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Speak
Hmm.
to bodybuilding even more. Let's dig a deep a teeny bit more. Is there
Hmm.
anybody that you look up to in the sport of bodybuilding, man or woman, that you would love to not only share maybe a stage with, let alone
Hmm.
maybe they're retired, or like you'd love to just get into their mindset? Who would that be and why?
For sure. So one person who comes right to the top of my head, I actually had the opportunity to hang out with this weekend. Her name is Andrea Shaw. She's a four-time Miss Olympia. So she does women's bodybuilding, which is like I compete in figure. It's you're kind of a smaller frame, but it's more just kind of like that balance. She is so muscular. She's just on another level, and she is absolutely beautiful, like, and, yeah, I got the opportunity to hang out with her this weekend. We were shooting some stuff for one of our sponsors, Grindstone Blends, and then, yeah, we got to have a little party on Saturday, and, yeah, we had a really good time. I got to train legs with her. She, like, took it to another level. I have never experienced that type of pain, I will say. And she's just such an inspiring person, and she's just yeah, she's really down to earth and genuine, and I think that, yeah, like, not everybody is so, in the bodybuilding industry is so narcissistic and all about them and just like, "Oh, look at me," like, she's such a cool person, and yeah, it was an honor,
You're in that
and,
sport. Yeah, you're in that sport. And I gotta watch what I ask you, but I feel like I'm gonna ask the question anyway, right? Because I
go
think
for it.
that freedom of speech is something that's misjudged in the realm
Yeah.
of podcasting, content creation, the news that we watch and the
Mhm.
news that we consume. And I try to stay off of the
Yeah.
mainstream type of way of how coverage is. I like to go another avenue and things like that. When
Yeah,
you see men and
digging
you
in.
see when you see men and you see women in bodybuilding and they have an ego,
Mhm,
right? Because
mhm.
you don't, from when just conversations, a handful of times we met up and we've had conversations, you don't come across to have like that
Yeah,
ego, right? I can tell. You
yes.
can tell
Thank
when somebody
you.
has an ego, right?
Thank
But
you.
when you
Yeah.
see these profiles of these bodybuilders, men and women, and they have this big ego, and it could be the social media following, it could be the amount of medals, the amount of sponsorships they're getting. How does that make you feel? And it's a two-part question. How does that make you feel when you see that? And do you think that discourages any other men and women to get into the sport because they see how people are acting that way?
Okay, so I don't know, from my standpoint, I think when I see that, it's like, I think, okay, this person is like usually it's they're kind of using this ego and this trying to build this perception to kind of hide something that's on a deeper level. So if anything, it's a I almost feel sympathy towards these people. It's like I feel bad. Like there's obviously something that they are feeling the need to do all of this to cover this, right? Um and yeah, and then, like, because it's such a, like, subjective, it's about your appearance-based sport, like, that's where it really does come through, and I always try to, like, I think I'm putting an effort in more so to try and showcase that I'm not really about that, and I think that I can like, social media is so tricky because it's like I post a lot of my physique and I post a lot of that, and I it's not just about that. I got other stuff going on too. There's a lot going on up here, okay? Let me tell you. So
Uh-oh. So you went,
so
see what I
another
did there. You see what I did there. That's why I'm good at what I do. I know I'm not gonna say I'm great at what I do, is because I ask the questions to bring out the best responses. And you say that you post a lot
Yeah,
about yourself, right? Now,
yeah,
first, a person that posts just their aesthetic, right? And I've seen some
mhm,
of your videos where you're showing it's not all about aesthetic. You know what I mean? It's all about recovery. It's all about this. It's all about that. Hormones, all that.
yeah,
When you see you're posting yourself and you get that type of attention compared
mhm,
to when you post something that's teachable, where men and women can take
mhm,
away from, do you see the
mhm.
discrepancies, and how does that make you feel?
Let's get into this. So I think first off, I post a lot of like this is hard work and like I post a lot of my physique stuff because I'm proud and I'm confident and this has like been 10 years in the making like and I'm still going like so I think there's a point to posting stuff that you're proud of, maybe photo shoot stuff, other like posing, flexing. It's all kind of like it ties into kind of that bodybuilding. It's like I'm proud of my work. Yeah, you're gonna get some weird messages and stuff, and like honestly, I'm not opposed to anyone who does this, but it's like it's not an OnlyFans. I don't do OnlyFans. I have my reasons. I just don't think that's really the image I want to have for myself. But I'm no disrespect for anyone that does. It's like um and then, yeah, I think that I've also tried to, and I'm gonna continue to post more informative and educational stuff because I feel like that's my job. I feel like I want to inform people, inform my clients, and just teach people some of like share the knowledge because like I said, there's a lot going on up here, and I don't always put that out there. So another reason I'm really thankful to be on this podcast too. Um, and yeah, and I think it's a good push for me, and I'm pushing to start incorporating a lot more of that. So
I love that
hopefully
you
that
say
answers
that.
your question.
Yeah. No, I love that you say that because, like I said, is when I get this mic in front of me, I ask the questions because it's the questions that I know that the
Yeah.
audience want to hear, and I know that
Uh-huh.
it's how the person wants to answer it. Because I know some people that they'll dance around certain things, right? And you did speak
Yeah.
about that because it's leading me somewhere. Because what I do with this podcast is I lead you on a journey for you to be able to understand what's going
Yeah.
on, right? And so when you say
I
about
like
the
that.
posting and you talk about the teachable stuff, the posting for me, how I identify that as, that's branding, that's sponsorship, ladies and gentlemen.
Mhm.
That's money that the creator's trying to
Mhm.
get back into their pocket. That's the reason why it's called social media. It can be teachable, but it can also
Yeah.
build your
Yeah.
revenue. You're a content creator, right? So that's the one step. Two, it comes
Yeah.
down
Gotcha.
to when you speak about the pay to play metric, right? The OnlyFans, which I could go on a deep dive about that, but I see the resources of why
Mhm.
men or women may want to use it in their personal profession because there's advantages and there's disadvantages. It all depends on what you're using it
Yeah.
for, right? Potato, potato.
For sure.
So
For
for
sure.
you, and I think this is a big
Mhm.
conversation to ask because I think that bodybuilding and going on stage
Mhm.
can be a lonely sport. We're not even talking about support
Mhm.
systems. We're talking about our love relationships, right? And things like that.
Mhm.
Do you think that you have to find the right person to maybe want a long-term date that understands your profession? Because it's so high in demand. It's all the posting of the pictures. It's all the, going into prep. It's all the you can't eat certain things
Yeah,
that it is you want to eat and things like that. How important is that? And make the audience understand what that means.
for sure. I think, saying like I don't so I'm not currently with somebody, but yeah, I think it is super important to have somebody who understands. Um I don't know, you see some bodybuilders they have a significant other who's also in the sport. I don't know how well that always goes, but I think for me, personally, I would want to have somebody who understands, what you're doing, what you're going through is gonna kinda be there to help, push you or go to the gym with you at least, or, someone who can, yeah, understand, I guess, at the end of the day. Um, and yeah, and much like it would be the same, um like, the other way, like, I would obviously wanna be supportive and be there for them 110%, so and I think that, in a lot of relationships, it's not always this 50-50, like, sometimes in prep, you're gonna be you're gonna be looking at a 40-30. They're gonna have to pick up that, that 10 or 20, right? So, it's just all about finding someone who can kinda balance you out and be there and has your back and you have theirs, so
I love that you say that because it's important. And it's the same thing that, not to turn it into a
and
relationship
that's not
episode,
just prep either. Sorry to cut you off.
right?
That's not just in prep either. I think that's for anyone, anywhere.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
funny you say that because I don't think a lot of people understand, even in podcasting or being a content creator, you're going to have people that find the highs in the
Yeah.
relationship, and there's some that are going to find the lows. And I've always said
Yeah.
this, you look at somebody's schedule when you're doing 40 hours a week, doing a 9 to 5,
Yes.
putting another
Yeah.
15 to 20 hours into your craft. And then you
Yeah.
put that with editing, and then you put that with your alone time. A lot of people are not going to be able to understand what that is. And the reason why they don't
Right.
understand what it is because they're not there. They haven't got there. They may say that it looks,
Yeah.
mundane and things like that, but it's that sexy appeal. Oh,
Yeah.
well, he's posting this on social media. He's got that podcast guest
Yeah.
on there. That's the sexiness of it.
Yes.
But the thing is, you don't know about the
Yes.
work that goes on.
No, 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 for sure, for sure, and that's what you gotta do to make that money, and, like and if your significant other is going like, "Oh, he's or she's always on her phone, or she's always doing this, or, or taking pictures of all this stuff," it's like, you gotta be like, "Yeah, it's what needs to be done to make the" you know?
But you know what though? And it's funny you say that. And I love that you said that, right? Because you're like probably one of my
Yeah.
first female guests that have talked about this as far as, partnership in social media and things like that. Is that
Mhm.
this is where you got to help each other. Because there could be things where you talk about the
Yes.
40%, but that person could pick up the 60% where it could be maybe they're taking or holding your phone to do whatever it is you're needing to do. Or maybe they can help you with those
Mhm, mhm.
emails that you need to be sent. And I think it's that yin and yang that people don't want to do.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And you have to have that
Yeah.
ability to be say, hey, listen, boom, hey, I'm gonna pick this up for you. Yo, you're dieting, you're in
Yeah.
prep. Well, what do you need me to step
Yeah.
in? X and O's, X and
Yeah.
O's, right? And those are the
Right?
underrated things that I think a lot of people don't ever uh, look at because they are in their own lane. We're so quick to just change all of our relationships like we change our clothes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. 100% agree. I think, yeah, something that a lot of people will ask me is like, "Oh, what's the quickest way I can lose weight?" Or like, "What do you eat like at this far out from a show? Like, how can I like?" And it's every body is different for one, and you have to be not just I'm not just talking about prep, I'm talking just about lifestyle, like losing weight, or starting like a new kind of fitness goal. It's gotta be for you. It's gotta be sustainable. You can't just there's no, the magic pill or, just fad diet, like, oh, I'm going keto for a week and I lost like 15 pounds, but and then you're gonna gain it back in next week when you have a carb. And, you know, like
It's so true though, but it's so
like
true. Like, so
Right?
let's do this. Let's do this. Let's cook. Because the funny thing about that is, and this is probably where I'll probably get canceled. Go ahead, try it. Try it. Many people have tried in the last 7 years and it hasn't worked yet. But they're gonna be like, but Rory, you're not big enough yet. That's the reason why we can't No, trust me, you can't. You can't cancel somebody that's been viral. You can't cancel
Yeah.
somebody that doesn't, he talks with a way of like where, and I'll say
Yeah.
this to say that before I answer that. I think
Yeah.
when you ask questions a certain way and when
Mhm.
you kind of freestyle how things are going, it's
Mhm.
intimidating to some. So you have some guests that are like, yeah, I don't know if I can go on that guy's show, because I hear a lot of guests say this. You throw these curveballs at any
Yeah.
given time, but it makes
Yeah.
good content.
Yep.
So when it comes to these fads that people do, keto or you're doing this, you got to stay
Yeah.
in that phase, ladies and gentlemen. You got to stay in that phase. If you think you're going
Yeah.
to go on keto for 2 weeks, like you just said, and then, oh,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to go back and eat my natural habits,
You're right.
you're fooling
Guess what? It's
yourself.
coming back.
Coming back. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
coming back
coming
in a
back.
part where you may not be able to lose it the way you need to lose it. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
So
That's
that's the
it.
reason why it's like you got to be mindful in these things that you're going into, you know?
For sure. For sure, and I think, yeah, sustainability is the key. It's like you're like, when I sit down with somebody, it's like I try to, like, break it down. It's like, "Okay, what's your schedule like? Like, how many times a week can you train? Like, what are you eating? What can you eat? What don't you like to eat?" Like, it's like all these things that play into it. Because I don't think restrictive eating is the key to losing weight. It's just not. It's like I said, it's about fuel for your mind, fuel for your body. So I really do stand behind, and I always eat just clean whole foods. And I think that if you're eating clean foods, one single ingredient, it's not the crackers, it's not the protein bars that's got God knows what in there. Like it's clean, simple, and yeah, and it should be things that you like. And same for your workout routine and stuff. Like it's not just you have to do weights. Like you don't have to lift weights. Like there's other forms of resistance training and cardio, and it's just finding that balance.
I love that you say that, because one of my goats, Tom Brady, never picked up a weight. Everything was resistant
Wow.
bands.
Right?
So
Yeah, the bands.
you
Yes.
know what I mean? So everything's resistant bands, and now look at him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, to wrap everything up into a bow, because it's
Yep.
holiday season, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'd love to give back to the audience for you. You know, 1% better is always a question I ask. I've been getting away from it a little bit of time. 1% better. Now,
Okay.
when people hear 1% better, that doesn't mean you go on other platforms and try to realign how to say it. Cool. I haven't co signed it, but everybody now is out there saying 1% better. For you, when it comes to health, when it comes to fitness, speak to the audience. How can they become 1% better?
I think doing one thing, this is gonna sound funny, one thing that is just for you every single day. So take that 5 minutes out of your day, whether that be to read, to relax, to stretch, to have your coffee in silence, whatever it is, do whatever for just 5 minutes out of your day, and you will be 1% better for tomorrow.
Jeez. Okay. I love that. Any information you want to plug before we get out of here? Anything you want to plug?
Um Yeah, like I'm always I'm always available. I always I'm open to taking on clients always. I do not just nutrition, I do training. Yeah, and then I'd love to sit down and chat with anybody who is in need of help. And I'm not just about bodybuilding, lifestyle, whatever it is that you got. We got a goal, we're gonna work on it, and that's it.
No, I do appreciate you, Em, and we'll do this again in the future.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you too, and thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Anytime.